how many will lose and how many are unaffected. But this isn't the question that's examined by researchers claiming that bans exert no harm. Most studies exert what's called a community effects methodology. It aggregates all businesses into one and then examines whether this aggregate has changed following the ban. So the examination becomes, do the aggregate sales or tax revenues rise, fall, or stay the same? And the studies routinely conclude that sales and tax revenues never fall, but rise or stay the same. Now, the problem with this methodology can be found by this analogy. If you were to take a class, well, if we were to take all the people sitting in this hall and weigh them, we'd come up with a figure. We could then take the same people and weigh them again in 6 months' time. We might get the same figure, the same aggregate weight. But some people will have put on weight, other people will have lost weight. And that's equivalent to some businesses doing well out of the smoking ban and other businesses not doing well. The market adjusts. In the paper, we raise the issue of whether the research on whether scientific research on alleged adverse health consequences of second-hand, whether this research is pure. Now, of course, the speakers prior to me have emphasised how research publication, and especially research publications that get prominence, all assert that passive smoking is harmful. But there is a well-known bias in medical publications that if you have researchers examining whether, let's say, drug A has an effect, let's say the true relationship is that drug A does not have an effect. You will get researchers who find, well, we took two control groups, we gave one the drug, the other we didn't, we gave them a placebo. At the end, we didn't find an effect. But statistically, in about 1 out of 20 research studies of this, one researcher might find that it does have an effect. In other words, you're finding a false positive result. Now that rogue result will be the one that tends to get the publicity and even publication. And very typically, a lot of the health effects, not only of alleged passive smoking, but of many other things, are the result of these, what we call the bias against the null hypothesis. It's well known in medical literature. It's much more difficult to get a paper published, a piece of research published, if you are unable to show an effect. And in our paper, which can be accessed on the internet, we refer you to a contribution by Nielsen in a book called What Risk? Science, Politics and Public Health. And also we refer you to a book by John Brignall entitled Wrong Number, where the statistics, the statistical methods to which I've been referring are examined. The null hypothesis bias. Siegel is a well-known epidemiologist and long-term ban advocate. He discusses, what the reference is made to him, as the wild claims regarding adverse health effects of second-hand smoke of many pro-ban advocates, and discusses how he has been personally attacked for criticising such claims. He argues that anti-tobacco activists have been very active, overestimating adverse health effects, so they will find little resistance from the public and push for their safety benefit. Now, I wind down my talk to you by, probably for many of you, referring to a study that was conducted 10 years ago by a 14-year-old schoolboy from Idaho. As part of a little project, he surveyed his classmates about a chemical called dihydrogen monoxide. He told his fellow students, classmates, that the compound contributes to the greenhouse effect, the erosion of our natural landscape, corrosion and rusting of many metals, found in excised tumours of terminal cancer patients, and despite that it's used as a fire retardant, it's used in pesticides, and as an additive of many junk foods. And of the 50 students he asked, 43 of them said that that substance should be banned. Well, dihydrogen monoxide, of course, is water. So, in conclusion, about 5 points. Economists would never claim that zero air or water pollution is a meaningful concept. They argue just this in the case of smoking in restaurants and pubs. It's a meaningless concept to talk about zero air pollution or water control, and it's in many other areas, economists never go for zero. It's always a balance. And arguments for zero smoking must mean that no costs are ever incurred when owners are forced to clean all smoke in their airspace. Losing customers or sales following a ban or lost welfare of smokers can clearly be considered a cost of clean-up. A more appropriate question might be to ask, what level of harm would be acceptable for us to ban all smoking in restaurants and pubs? Harm exerted on 5%, 10%, 20%? Might be a question to ponder. But the ban advocates keep saying that the harm is zero. A more informed policy might allow a finite number of smoking licences to be auctioned off in jurisdiction whereby owners whose businesses benefit the most from smoking can retain the property rights over their airspace. So, in conclusion, most economists are pretty liberal sort of people, and in areas like this, you get, I would like to say a consensus of economists, but certainly very, very considerable agreement at these micro levels by comparison with economists' differences of opinion at macro levels, such as dealing with the current economic crisis. And in general, economists are very passionate against prohibitions of all kinds. Thank you very much.